Manchester United interested in replacing Antony with Wolves' Pedro Neto. More stories coming out saying Gareth Southgate could become the Manchester United manager, and the heat is piling on the centre-back position, with more and more stories coming out saying that Manchester United are desperately looking for a new centre-back this summer. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on the show this evening, but before we jump into that, please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So let's start off with this story about Pedro Neto. This is coming out from a couple of different journalists in the UK this evening on Thursday. And the headline is this: Manchester United have been keeping tabs on Wolves winger Pedro Neto and see him as a potential replacement for Antony. Now, I like Pedro Neto. I think he's a good player. I think he's a much better player than Antony, being completely honest. But the big issue with him is his injury record. I'm going to be honest with you guys, he's injury prone. He is. And I think, even Wolves fans would accept that. So far this season, he's missed 20 games through injury. 20. Last season, he missed 27 games through injury. Okay? The season before that, he missed 52 games through injury. So over the last 3 seasons, he's missed 20 this season, 27 last season, and 52 games the season before. I mean, that's absolutely mad. He's a quality player, though. He really, really is. He is someone I really like. I think he would massively improve our team. I could see him going to any of the teams in the top 4. The Arsenals, the Tottenhams, the Man Uniteds, even teams like Man City, I think would be interested in him. But his injury record for me is too much of a problem. And I think that unless you were getting him for a really, really cheap price, then I just don't think it's worth the risk, being honest. We've got too many players as it is who are injury prone. You think of people like Luke Shaw, you think of people like Varane, even Casemiro. There's so many people in this squad that get injured far too much. Now, is that because of our doctors? Is it because of our medical team? Or is it just because they're injury prone? It's a difficult one to work out, and there's no way of really 100% telling. But the fact of the matter is, Pedro Neto is a quality player. He's been doing really, really well for Wolves, but his injury record is a big concern for me. So I would probably swerve on this one, I think. Yes, he's better than Antony, but I would probably rather, as it stands, have Antony, who's available pretty much all the time, versus having a player who's barely available. It doesn't really make much sense. Stats-wise, he has had a really good season, though, in all fairness. He's got 2 goals and 9 assists in 19 games in the Premier League. So he is averaging a goal or an assist every other game in the Premier League at the moment, which is a quality return. But £50 million is going to be the asking price for him. And I just think that there's way better options out there. I would probably rather see Amad Diallo get a chance, or I would even rather see someone like Michael Olise come in, because I think it's far too much of a risk. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Pedro Neto to Manchester United, yes or no? If you don't want Pedro Neto, then let me know who you would like instead. For me, quality player, but his injury record worries me. Moving over to the centre-back position, we've had so many different stories coming out in the last couple of days. And we're again linked to Bremer from Juventus. Really, really good player. Someone I really, really like. 60 million euros is the fee that's being reported today. The only thing I'll say about Bremer is he's 28 very, very soon. I think paying 50, 60 million for him would be a little bit ridiculous. I know Juventus paid, I think, about 40 million for him 2 years ago. But for me personally, I don't think so. I think we need to be looking for younger profile players, people in their early 20s, someone like Jared Brathwaite, someone like Jean-Claire Todibo, another player we're going to talk about in a minute, actually. So yeah, Bremer, quality player, very, very good. But for me, I think we need to be looking at younger profiles. Talking about younger profiles, there is another player who we're heavily linked to today. The story says Manchester United are interested in signing centre-back Tosin Adarabioyo, who was out of contract in the summer. Adarabioyo played for Man City's academy and is interested in returning to Manchester. He was a United fan growing up. So he currently plays for Fulham. He's had quite a bit of game time this season for Fulham, which is obviously good for him. He is in his mid-20s, so still, he's not a young player. I don't know. Again, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know that much about him. He's played 15 times for Fulham in the Premier League this season. As a free transfer, I think it's probably worth a punt, but yeah, I don't think anything more than that, being completely honest. And again, he's someone who maybe you sell Victor Lindelof for £10 million and you bring in this guy for free. That could be quite good as a backup. But I think for our starting centre-back, we need to probably be looking for better. So someone like Jean-Claire Todibo, someone like Jared Brathwaite, that needs to be the calibre of player we're going for, not somebody who's playing for Fulham, who's out of contract in the summer. All due respect to Fulham, but like it's not really the level we should be aiming for, is it? But let me know what you guys think. Maybe you think we should be looking for, some slightly older players who we can get on a free transfer and not be paying big money for a centre-back. I just think that the centre-back position is so important at Manchester United. We've bought a ball-playing goalkeeper in Onana, who is slowly starting to get a bit better, but he's desperate to have ball-playing centre-backs in front of him. Harry Maguire's not a ball-playing centre-back. Johnny Evans isn't really a ball-playing centre-back. Lindelof can just about do it. Obviously, Varane can do it, and Martinez can do it. But other than that, we don't really have any ball-playing centre-backs, do we? I think Willy Campoala can kind of do it, but, he's only 18 years old, so you can't really rely on him. But we desperately need Martinez back and another ball-playing centre-back to play alongside him, and I think that someone like Jean-Claire Todibo would do that perfectly, But yeah, I think we're going to keep being linked to defenders all summer, and, we will get one, but it's just who we go for. Moving over to Gareth Southgate again, I just want to say, guys, it's impossible to ignore this Gareth Southgate story. I know we've spoken about it a couple of times over the last 24 hours, but it is literally everywhere. Every single outlet is talking about it. I was just watching the overlap with Gary Neville and Roy Keane, and which I really like, by the way. And I mean, even they were talking about it. They did a whole 10-minute section of that show talking about Gareth Southgate, and I thought it was really interesting what Roy Keane had to say about it, actually. So Roy Keane was asked on whether he thinks Gareth Southgate could be at Manchester United. And Roy Keane says, I could see that happening. They all agreed that they could see Gareth Southgate on the touchline at Old Trafford. I don't really understand how or why. Are they friends with him? Is it... I don't know. I don't understand it. I really, really don't. Because every single bit of media that I turn on to, other than actual fan-led media, like on Twitter or whatever, you turn on Sky Sports, you turn on TalkSport, and everyone's quite positive about Gareth Southgate coming to Man United. And it's strange that Roy Keane and Gary Neville were kind of in that same camp as well. I don't really understand it. I feel like I'm missing something here. They're trying to make out that Gareth Southgate's a better manager than he is, and I just don't buy into it. I think he's a tick box manager, if I'm being honest, if that makes sense. I think he would be a puppet. I think he wouldn't really expect much responsibility or ask for any responsibility. He'd be happy to just pick the squad each week, and that would kind of be the extent of it. I think he'd probably keep the players happy. To me, he's just another kind of Ollie type manager, And being honest, Ollie's actually got more experience than he does, being completely honest. Gareth Southgate's only ever managed Middlesbrough, and that was 10 years ago, I think. So although Ollie wasn't very good, he had Premier League experience with Cardiff before and had done other things, and had managed Mulder and a couple of other teams. He had Haaland and he had achieved some things, whereas Gareth Southgate has got arguably the best England team we've ever seen and has not won anything in any of the last 4 major tournaments. So for me, it's a massive no. Jamie Jackson, we've got another story from him, keeping on that. So this is coming up from Jamie Jackson, who is the Manchester football correspondent for The Guardian here in the UK. He is reporting that Gareth Southgate is admired by Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford. He is one of the potential new managers who enjoy this status. Okay, so... And then you've got the Manchester Evening News, who are reporting that Gareth Southgate is in frame to become the Manchester United new manager this summer if Ineos decide to part ways with Erik ten Hag. It says Southgate has admirers within Ineos, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe impressed with the work he has done with England. He has also got relationships with Sir Dave Brailsford and Dan Ashworth. Southgate has featured prominently in discussions over managerial targets this summer should Erik ten Hag be sacked. I just don't understand it for a second. How can Jim Ratcliffe be impressed with what he's done at England? He's won nothing. He plays boring football. And maybe, if we're being honest, maybe that's what they want at Manchester United. Maybe they want to play defensive park the bus football. And if so, and they want Harry Maguire to be a staple part of the team, then maybe Gareth Southgate is the right man for the job, Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they don't believe in what Erik ten Hag's trying to do. But for me personally, I don't understand it for a second. It makes zero sense to me. And I honestly think it would be us going backwards massively. I mean, it could work, but yeah, I don't get it, to be honest. But yeah, it doesn't really add anything to me. But one final story for you guys before we wrap up the show this evening, and we've got a bit of an update on Mason Greenwood for you, which I know a lot of you are really, really waiting for news on. So this is coming out from a couple of different people in the last kind of 5 or so minutes. And the story is Getafe's hope of loaning Mason Greenwood for another season is set to fail, with Manchester United not interested in another loan deal for Mason. It says United will only sell him on a permanent transfer this summer. So, yeah, Getafe were never going to be able to afford Mason Greenwood, were they? Like, they weren't. And they were lucky to get him on loan. It's worked for him. And now Manchester United are looking to move him on permanently. And I'll say this as well, right? For all of you people who want Mason Greenwood to come back, if Gareth Southgate is the manager, there is not a hope in hell that Mason Greenwood will come back. Because for anybody who doesn't remember, Mason Greenwood was banished from the England team as well because he was up to no good with Phil Foden, wasn't he, on England duty a couple of years ago? I think it was in Iceland, wasn't it? So Mason Greenwood and Gareth Southgate have already fallen out before, and he was banished from the England team. So for those of you who want Mason Greenwood to come back, which I know some of you do, Mason Greenwood and Gareth Southgate did not get on as far as I'm aware. And I don't think, he wouldn't come back and play under Gareth Southgate. I'm almost certain of it. Gareth Southgate's been quite vocal in his opinions, and has beliefs and things, which is good and which I like. And I just can't see Mason Greenwood being able to rekindle that relationship with him after the falling out in Iceland. I just can't see it. But maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up the show here, guys. Obviously, feel free to get in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed on today's show. If you have enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like on your way out, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. It doesn't cost you any money and it really helps the channel. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great evening, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. for your morning show.